Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Splash Media U webinar today. I'm Duncan Gilman. I'm the Dean of Students. And I'm actually going to start off a little bit slow in the first few minutes as people join in. We didn't have a trailer running at the beginning, so I want to make sure everybody finds us and knows that they're in the right place before I switch over. Again, my name is Duncan Gilman. I'm the Dean of Students for Splash Media U, which is a social media training certification program. Some of you joining us may already be students, and welcome. It's nice to always talk to you semi face-to-face, virtually face-to-face, when we usually get to correspond over the phone or over email. Some of you may be brand new and not familiar with the program, and that's fine too. This is a public webinar. It's not about the program. It's about social media trends to watch out for and be aware of in 2016. So I've delayed for about a minute now between my own introductions. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the presentation itself. So I'll come back at the end for some questions and to address you directly. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our presentation here. And the screen's going to look a little funny for a second as I go to the desktop. There we go. And scroll back to the beginning. There we are. Social media in 2016 is what we're talking about today, because I wanted the opportunity to, now that we're basically into the first quarter, well into the first quarter of 2016, I wanted to check up with everyone who's in social media marketing and see which of these things you're using, which things you've come up with, and how you're using social media in general, in addition to these trends that we're going to be talking about. And part of the way we're going to do that is through your comments and questions, in addition to some polls that we're going to have throughout the webinar today. And so here's how that's going to work. I've got not just me here online with you, I've got Julio Lebron, who's going to be your webinar moderator, and he's going to be tweeting and chatting from our campus office in Orlando, Florida. Splash Media U is an affiliate of Full Sail University. We love everyone over at Full Sail, and Julio is there on campus ready to talk with you and answer some questions as we go through. But if you have questions beyond the polls that we're going to do during the webinar itself, please be sure and go ahead and put those into YouTube in the comment section, or if you don't see the comment section on YouTube, you can always put them in Google+. If you go to our Google+ page, the Splash Media U Google+ page, you'll see the same live webinar happening there as well. So you can always comment there. So if you have questions, go ahead and type them in, and then at the end of the webinar, we'll come back and answer those. As we go along, though, as I mentioned, we're going to have some polls so we can interact with you more directly and throughout the program. So the way you can answer those is by including the answer number and the hashtag Splash Webinar. And I'm going to be checking Twitter as well to see who is answering on online live so we can respond to them. So how that's going to work is I'm going to ask you a question, and it might be Q3 for question 3. So if you have a response to question 3, in your tweet back to us, you would write A3 and then your answer to the poll. And of course, don't forget to use the hashtag Splash Webinar so that we can all follow along. That's so everybody can find that conversation and participate. And Julio is actually going to be tweeting directly from Splash Media U. If you see anything from me, that will be after the webinar as a response to some of the questions and some of the polls that we've done throughout. So again, that's how we can talk back with you. If you have answers to polls, go ahead and put them in as we go. If you have questions about anything we talk about, go ahead and put those in the YouTube comments, and we'll address those after the fact. So why not go ahead and start off with a poll. I'd love to get a feel for who is with us today. What industry or field do you represent? Are you a social media manager with clients? Are you working directly for a business in their marketing department? Do you run your own business? What are you doing in terms of social media marketing today? Where does that fit in, and what field is that? So go ahead and answer, if you would, with A1 and the hashtag Splash Webinar, and we'll see if a couple answers come in here. I'm looking at Twitter here. I don't want to keep you, don't want to have too much dead air here, so I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm looking through Twitter. We've got Etta World Famous. Nice, great to have you here. Let's see if we have anybody answering which industry they're in, and we'll go ahead and move on and come back to this question if the Twitter response is coming a little slow, which is absolutely fine. The reason I ask is because as we go through these trends that we're going to talk about for 2016 in social media marketing, it's great for us to be able to talk to each other about how to use social media for a particular vertical or particular business or particular field, because some trends will apply to some industries more than others. So it's nice to be able to address those. All right, I'm just going to wait a couple more minutes here. Oh, okay, Etta World Famous says broadcasting, fantastic. Oh, we've got a business owner at 8 Story Social. Great to have you here. Business owners, wonderful. I imagine that it's probably a mix of the business owners, and that you probably see some of my tweets come through on the desktop as well. Some of the business owners and the marketers and the social media managers. We have a wide range of students in our program as well, so I'm guessing that our attendees kind of reflect that mix. So to address these trends that we're going to talk about, I think it's probably most important to talk about what we're looking at in terms of the social media marketing landscape right now. Social media use is huge. I probably don't even have to tell you that. That 9 out of 10, 90% of companies in the United States are on social media. And that has just skyrocketed over the last decade or so. It started off probably 8 or 9 years ago with just a few major companies or a few really independent companies that wanted to be on that leading edge. And now it's up to 90%. That's no surprise. I'm guessing that's probably that number or even higher today is going to be on social media in a business capacity. And again, we're just talking about business here. We're not talking about the billion-plus people who are on Facebook or all the individual, independent, personal users. Just businesses here is up to 90%. But on the social side, adult social media use is 65%, which is 10 times growth over the last 10 years. It's just incredible to have that kind of growth year over year. And what has happened is that businesses jump on at different times, realizing that whenever they jump on, they're probably going to be behind the curve a little bit. And so that's why it's grown so quickly, especially in the last few years, is that so many businesses are finally realizing that it's late. It's late in the game to be joining the social media world, and on the user side, the personal side as well. To dive into some individual stats, as I mentioned before, Facebook is at now 1 billion plus daily active users. That means 1 billion individual accounts are logging in every day. They use this number, daily active users, as a way to sort of combat what might be interpreted as a spam number or a fake account number. Because if you're logging in every day, there's a much better chance that you are a real breathing person. And Facebook has topped well over 1 billion now. That means that 1 out of every 7 people on the planet are on Facebook. A lot of people are using Facebook who don't even have computers, because you don't need a computer to be on Facebook. You can be on mobile. And one of the things we're going to be talking about today, which I think you'll see as a trend throughout the trends that we're going to be talking about, is mobile use. Almost everything we're going to be talking about today has that in common, where mobile is more important now than ever, and especially in 2016. Another quick stat for you: Snapchat is up now to 100 million daily active users. So, you know, even just at 1/10 of the Facebook population, Snapchat, imagine the quick growth that Snapchat has seen from a year or two ago, when it was still sort of on the fringe and really only for the teenage market and for a very limited type of use. And now it's being used by brands and marketers, a lot more so for personal brand marketing, but even embraced by a lot of publishing companies and brands that really are into the storytelling side of social media. That's where Snapchat shines. But just a couple quick stats to show you where social media is today. The 0 moment of truth is more important than it ever has been. If you're not familiar with this concept, this is a concept that Google came up with to piggyback on the traditional marketing concept of the first moment of truth, where you interact with a salesperson. Because we're able as consumers to do at least, or if not more than half of our research before we even step foot into a car dealership or a Best Buy, or wherever we do our shopping. Of course, a lot of that's done online now anyway, the full purchase process. We're able to research the product to know exactly what we want. We're able to look and see what make, what model, what type, what year, what on the electronic side, what brand. We're able to know down to the last detail exactly what we're looking for, so that by the time we're actually to make the purchase itself, we're educated probably as much as the employees are. We know the product that well. So the zero moment of truth, or ZMOT, expresses that moment when you first start to reach out to do your research. And I love this graphic. This is not the original ZMOT graphic, but this graphic, because we're in a very heated political climate right now, this graphic shows how you can apply the ZMOT to things like politics, where the zero moment of truth is all about the research you do into which candidate most aligns with your philosophies and your beliefs before the first moment of truth, where you actually go to the polls and vote. So this really is applicable to a wide range of the things we do in our daily life, from purchases to politics, and social media has revolutionized the way we go through this process, and has generated this whole thing called that Google has called the ZMOT, the zero moment of truth, where your research initiates. The way it works is that it creates a cycle of awareness for other consumers. So your zero moment of truth will lead to you going online, asking your friends, going on Facebook and saying, what do you think about such and such product? Going to YouTube and watching videos about it. And that is what sparks another person's zero moment of truth. So it creates this cycle of awareness, because you talking about it sparks someone else's interest, they talk about it, sparks someone else's interest, and so on. Here are the trends we're going to talk about today. Going into 2016, and obviously we're well into 2016, mobile marketing is going to be huge, and it plays a role in all 5 of these trends. Specifically, messaging. And we're going to take a look at the messaging apps that you use and how you can use some of those personal apps for business use, ad blocking, streaming video, and finally, influencer marketing, which doesn't have as much directly to do with mobile, but it's still a very important part of where 2016 is going in terms of how to get your message out there, and how can you tap into celebrity marketing and your own influencers as consumers to really reach a broader audience that you'll need to reach in order to get your product and service awareness out there. So let's dive into these one at a time. First is mobile marketing, and again, this is basically the theme of everything we're talking about, how everybody is with their phones every hour of the day. My question too for you is, where do you go without your phone? I'm very curious to see some of the answers here, and I have some answers of my own that I could share with you, but where do you go where you don't have your mobile phone with you? So I'm going to take a look over here at Twitter and share some of these answers. Of course, you can follow along by looking for the hashtag, searching for the hashtag Splash Webinar. And if you'll start that with A2 and then your answer, we will, I'll read some of those aloud for you here. To go back to A1, we've got Jason Wagner is a marketing program manager. Welcome. Walter, songwriter. Oh, I know Walter. Walter's one of our students. Welcome. Sylvia, journalist. Oh, great to have you here. Media arts and technology. Wonderful, wonderful. Let me refresh here and get to some of your A2s. Where do you go without your phone? I'll go ahead and share some of my answers with you. So I don't sleep with my phone in the bed with me or behind my pillow, but I do have the phone on the nightstand for better or worse. Although I try not to watch it too far after I actually go to bed, because I know that blue light is hazardous for your health in terms of keeping you up. Where do you go without your phone? Even when you're getting ready in the morning, you know, you could even have your phone with you in the shower. There are waterproof cases. I don't know if anybody actually does that. Oh, interesting. So Jackie responds to question 2. At work, she's required to leave her phone in the back room. Interesting. I'm curious what what Jackie at SkyKite does for work, where she's required to leave her phone in another room. Andrea says only places where it would be damaged. Missy says the bathroom. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty common. Desiree says nowhere. Nowhere also is Jason's answer. Absolutely nowhere. And Catalina, we just talked about the shower. Catalina at the Las Fuentes answers the shower. Yeah, that's probably my only place as well. I don't actually take my phone into the shower with me. But the point is, your consumers, your customers, your clients have that phone with them everywhere they go. Mobile is the fastest growing digital channel, and it's really not a surprise because it's a way we can carry around the internet with us all day long and into the night. And that is why businesses, and probably a lot of your businesses, have grabbed onto mobile marketing as the future of how they're going to get their message across, especially, but certainly not limited to, businesses that have have location-based campaigns. This is not necessarily limited to businesses that have a storefront, but if you are able to use geo-targeting and location-based marketing in some capacity, even if you don't have a physical store that people can walk into, maybe you're at a trade show, maybe you have an event, a live meetup, anything like that, if you can capitalize on that, you can get even more use out of mobile marketing because you can tap into where people are at any given time. On the business side, so of course we're using mobile to market to customers on the business side. On the advertising, on the paid side, the spend is going to surpass desktop. Again, not something that we really should be surprised by. Do you remember when, I think this was a year or two ago, maybe someone has the stat they can write in about when it was projected that that digital advertising was going to surpass print advertising. Now we've gone beyond that. Now we're at the point where mobile advertising is going to surpass desktop in just a few short years here. The second trend, again, each of these trends has something to do with mobile. The second trend just dives right into the messaging, the direct messaging between consumers, and now possible between brands and consumers, is a huge part of what you can tap into on the marketing side. And this has actually in generic terms, a two-pronged approach. There's the proactive marketing that you can do with messaging in directly reaching out to consumers and clients and sending promotions and campaigns. There are great ways to do that through a variety of apps, including some text messaging apps that a lot of retail businesses use now. I'm sure you've seen some of these, or maybe you're subscribed to some of these yourself, where you can get text messages from a business. That's on the proactive side. The other side is the reactive side. Messaging is a great way to enhance your customer service. Customers want to be addressed in the channel where they reach out to you. Customers want to hear back from you where they reached out. So in other words, if I am really frustrated waiting at the airport and there's been a delay on my Southwest flight, if I reach out to Southwest on Twitter, I want to hear back on Twitter. I'm not reaching out on Twitter so that they can call me. I'm not reaching out on Twitter so they can say, email us here at this address with your frequent flyer number. I'm reaching out on Twitter because I want to get a message back on Twitter. Or I'm reaching out on Facebook because I want you to reach back to me on Facebook. And that's the beauty of a lot of the messaging apps and newer messaging apps of these networks, like Facebook that has a separate messaging app. You can do the same thing on Twitter. It's built into Twitter, but you can message back and forth on Twitter and even include up to 15 people in a Twitter direct message. But the beauty of these is that there's no excuse now for brands to reach back directly out to that client who has the concern or the question. I see way too many times when somebody writes on Facebook on a business page, and I don't want to pick on any particular business, but I've seen too many times when someone writes on a business page on Facebook that they have a problem with a product or a service, or they waited too long, or they didn't feel the customer service in the store was friendly or adequate, and the business writes back with a generic copied and pasted message that says, please email us here. I'm sorry, please email us here. every single time. And again, if I wanted an email response, I would have sent an email. I want a response right then on Facebook, and there's no excuse now with all the messaging apps available for businesses not to do that. So now here's the interactive part. Take a quick look at your phone, except maybe for, who was it who, was it Sylvia? Someone who didn't have the phone with them at work, Jackie. Take a look at your phone and tell me, how many messaging apps do you have? This is partly a trick question because there are a lot more than you think. In fact, I'm on my phone now. I'm going to get out of Twitter and kind of do a rough count here. Take a look at how many messaging apps here. I'm doing a little tally. There we go. Let's see. The trick here is we're looking for ones that are not just messaging apps in and of themselves, but include messaging. I'm going to go ahead and switch back over to Twitter, and I'll read you some of mine. I'll read you some of the tweets, and I'll also let you know some of my own messaging apps, so you get an idea of the broad scope of what we're talking about. Let me go back into. So again, this is A3. If you're answering number 3, I'm guessing a lot of you are still counting. Okay, while we're waiting for the answers to come in on A3, how many messaging apps do you have? Let me go ahead and tell you some of mine. So I'm looking at my phone here, and this could be, it doesn't matter what platform you have. I'm on an iPhone, but so text messages, that's one. Going through in my productivity section, Gmail, that kind of counts. So you can count email maybe as a half there, but that is direct messaging. If you think about it, it's one-on-one messaging. Let me see here. Go back to the main screen. Twitter, that's 3 or 2 if you didn't count email. Google+, that's another one. LinkedIn, Facebook, specifically the Facebook messaging app. Let's see here. Go into YouTube. You can interact directly with other users. Let's see. Anybody know what are the apps that you can the audio apps that you can correspond back and forth? I'm sure that's possible on some of them, and I don't know off the top of my head if Pandora does that. Instagram, there's another one. Instagram does. Snapchat, of course, kind of built in as the main feature on Snapchat. The review sites, a lot of the review sites you can interact directly with people privately. Let's see, Periscope is on here. Hangouts, that's separate from Google. So this gives you an idea. It gives you an idea of how many apps, game apps, and I don't have a ton of games on my phone personally, but a lot of games allow you to interact directly one-on-one with other people. Now, of course, the applications for businesses are a little bit more limited when you consider gaming apps, but still, the idea is that you have a wide range of messaging apps beyond just texting and email. That you can use for your business. And it's important now more than ever, this is one of those trends for business owners or marketers or whoever's going to be in charge of the day-to-day, not only customer service, but the day-to-day marketing content to be able to have that mobile access so that whoever is in charge of those messages that are going out and the communications that are going out to customers and potential customers have something with them at all times. Not that you should be working 24/7, but that you should be able to address issues as they come up. So just a couple of these answers from A3. 2 apps, WhatsApp from Catalina. Absolutely, yeah, WhatsApp. I didn't include that one. 6, 15. Desiree has 15. Andrea says 3, not including games. Yeah, that's exactly right, because we talked about how games have that potential as well. A couple of messaging stats before we go into our third trend here. 4 billion messaging app users, and that, again, that's including all messages, but everybody is not only on their phones from point number 1, but they're on apps from point number 2. And brands are utilizing not just apps for themselves, but third-party app-specific social media channels like Instagram and Snapchat. If you're on these channels, you may already know that Instagram and Snapchat are not available in the same form on desktop. Now, there are some third-party tools that allow you to access some of the things that are featured on Snapchat, like the profile picture, the little QR code that you can use to connect to other users. But Snapchat is primarily, almost exclusively, a mobile-based app. Same thing with Instagram. Now, Instagram has a little bit more availability on its web version, but you can't post from the web. You can only post from the app. So again, it's about having the capability to address customer issues, customer questions on the reactive side, and monitor and reach out to customers on the proactive side, because that's where they are. That's just simply the case, that everybody is using these to communicate. I read something recently, I think it was from Facebook, probably from Mark Zuckerberg himself, about the end of phone numbers, how Facebook is trying to have an all-inclusive platform that kind of supersedes the need to communicate any other way. Now, of course, that's never going to happen. We're never going to only communicate via Facebook. But it's an interesting point that he makes, that do we really need phone numbers at all? And I didn't include this as a poll question, but feel free to tweet in, and maybe Julio can monitor some of those as well, moderate. It's a very interesting question if we'll actually need phone lines. Of course, we've seen the decline of landlines. That's certainly not a 2016 trend. That was probably a 2010 trend, that landlines are going away except for businesses, and people are only using their mobile phone lines. And now we're at the point where you don't even need that, where you can communicate on Google or Skype or Facebook or Snapchat, any other method that not only now includes just plain text and video and imagery and images and photos, but also some of them include actual audio back and forth. If you want the same feel of talking on the phone, you can have that in another form without the need for a phone number. Oh, in fact, here's the picture of the man himself. So the reason, the part of the article that I saw, the reason that was brought up is because of Facebook adding video and transportation to its messaging app. And I'm curious if any of you have used this yet. I haven't used the transportation side, but the idea is that you can get real-time updates and directions and a whole bunch of advanced features that you never would have thought would be included in a messaging app. You'd have to get in several separate apps are now included, and Facebook is rolling these out slowly. I don't know if any of you have access to these yet, but it'd be very interesting to see how not only individual users are taking advantage of some of these, but again, businesses. It's about how businesses can take advantage of where users are, where their clients are at any given time throughout the day. I hope, if you don't take anything else away from today, I hope you take away that the idea here is not to be spammy, in your face, pestering clients and customers. The idea is to be ready to talk to them, not to address them and communicate and broadcast so much that they get tired of hearing your message, but to be ready to communicate whenever they're ready to communicate with you. That's the main idea. If you take away nothing else, I hope that's what you take away, that it's about being there. It's about the awareness side more than anything else. If you're familiar at all with the traditional marketing funnel of how customers come to you, the biggest part of that funnel at the top, where all of the customers start, unless for some reason they just hear about your brand and go straight to you to buy something, the biggest part of that is the awareness section. And you want to have that be as broad a reach as possible, so that when people find you, they can learn more about you, and you can help walk them through the purchase process. They can get to know more about your brand, know about who runs the business, what they're going to get, what kind of customer service they can expect. All of that stuff can be part of the education component in the awareness section of the funnel. And that is where we're going to be spending most of our time as businesses, reaching out to our potential customers and clients. All right, number 3, we're going to talk about ad blocking. You may have heard some of the news recently in the last month or two about, I think Apple now allows ad blocking apps. It was a big move by Apple, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And I'm curious also if any of you have tried any of these, downloaded any ad blocking apps. Here's the catch with ad blocking. it can't block ads within other apps. So really what you're doing is blocking ads on the native applications that are built in, things like email and Safari, and that's where the ad blocking is going to be most effective. So this could be a benefit to, again, marketing on Facebook and Twitter and the social media platforms that have their own apps, because the ad blocking apps that you download as a customer can't go into those other apps and block ads. Here's our question for the ad blocking, and it kind of is related tangentially to the ad blocking question, but I'm curious, how much live TV do you watch? And the reason I ask this is because, of course, we're in this age now. Again, another trend that happened that started many years ago, but has certainly seen its peak here on the ad blocking side in 2016. The trend of fast forwarding through your DVR. We don't watch live TV anymore. We record everything on a DVR, and we're able now to just fast forward through the commercials, or watch on demand and watch a limited number of commercials, which again is not live. So how much live TV do you actually watch? Now I'm guessing the biggest answer here is probably going to be the Super Bowl, given its recency. But let's take a look at some of your answers here. For me, it's partly the live. It's funny. The live TV that I watch is reruns, because sometimes I just want something on in the background. I'll just turn on reruns of something, and even then, that's a gamble whether or not I'm going to see the ad, because if it's something I'm doing in the background, then my concentration is already somewhere else. So let's take a look here. Watch live TV. I'm sorry, I'm refreshing my Twitter to see if anybody's answering here. We'll come back to some of those answers. I'm going to go ahead and answer that one for you because we're running out of time here. I'm guessing for a lot of us, probably the Super Bowl, sports, maybe big events like Oscars, especially if you have the opportunity to tweet or interact with potential customers as an event happens, which is a great way to take advantage of some of that traffic. So again, we're running out of time. I've spent a lot of time talking here. Let's go into our last couple of trends here. A couple of bites about before we move on. It's a big business, and I think that probably goes without saying the effect that it's going to have on the advertising industry. But if you can tap into those standalone apps, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you're in a distinct advantage. A couple of the reasons, well, let me go back for 1 second. A couple of the reasons, one of the reasons in particular that ad blocking may affect advertising is the idea of personalizing ads. If you can develop the great content to make ads that don't seem like ads, and we're seeing a lot of that with the native advertising on websites especially, if you can develop the great content that doesn't appear like ads and still offers value to clients, then you may have a way around some of that ad blocking technology as a business. Okay, so a couple more things, and we're running short on time. Live streaming video is bigger than ever. It sort of crested in 2015, and I think it's not on its way down. I think it's just going to keep steady where it is. And we may see some more apps develop here in addition to the ones, the primary ones like Periscope, Meerkat, things like Google, like we're on now. I'm streaming now on Google Hangouts, which you're watching on YouTube Live. Question 5 is, which live stream platform is best? If you have one you prefer, I'd love to write in and love for you to write in and share that with us. Again, the most popular ones, a lot of businesses are finding really creative ways to take advantage of. Periscope and Meerkat, some of the ones that make it so easy to just hold up your mobile phone, interview a new employee, go around to your business and show people a tour of your office space, stream live from a trade show or an industry-wide event. These are just a couple of the ways. I mean, that's just barely scratching the surface of how you can use a really easy, straightforward app like Periscope. The one thing to keep in mind is make sure that you have, at least for now, a Wi-Fi connection, because streaming live video is really going to eat up your data plan. So especially if you're using your own phone for these events, make sure that you're connected to Wi-Fi so that it doesn't eat up your battery and your data plan availability, or data availability. Just a couple of little stats on video before we move on to our final trend. It's the primary source of video traffic, and I don't think that's a surprise. Again, we had someone tweet in about watching Netflix. Primarily, they get their entertainment on Netflix, so it's not live TV. If you're streaming Netflix, that's a huge part of internet bandwidth, a huge factor when you consider everything that goes across the internet. Video is going to take up a lot of that bandwidth, and also on mobile. So you're streaming Netflix from wherever. You could be on your phone, on your commute. You could be at home on your computer. But it's just continues to increase in the number of in the amount of bandwidth that it takes up in terms of the rest of what people are using the internet for. You're seeing a lot of sites take advantage of the buy now buttons. YouTube has various forms of this, from the cards that you're able to implement on videos and the overlays. Pinterest has the buy it now button. It's been rolling out on images, and video is an option on Pinterest too. So we're going to see more and more businesses take advantage of direct from video to sales, and this is absolutely worth looking into. If you have a video that you can use to educate your consumer on some top trends or some top ways to use a product or some top things to watch out for, anything that might be valuable educational information from your potential customer, that's a great opportunity to do a soft sell at the end, to click somewhere for more information, or to even a hard sell to buy now, using a lot of these overlay elements that video platforms are offering. This is another thing that we're going to see huge in 2016, the use of virtual and augmented reality. We're already seeing a lot of this now over the last couple of months with the Google's introduction of its virtual reality and the 360-degree videos that you're now able to create and see on YouTube. Part of this is made possible by the device that you can easily make yourself or purchase, called the Cardboard. And it's called Cardboard because that's basically what it is. If you remember the old ViewMasters from years ago, some of you may have grown up with these. I think they were popular. They probably debuted decades ago and then came back again a little bit in the 80s. But the ViewMasters are those devices that you look through, kind of like, they look like binoculars. And then you take that circular sheet of slides and you put it in, and you're able to see in sort of a very rough version of virtual reality, because you're only looking at that image. You're able to see a series of slides. This is basically the same thing. What Google has created is a cardboard viewfinder, but instead of inserting your circular sheet of slides, you insert your whole phone. You insert your smartphone in that slot and play video, and it immerses you in the virtual reality world just by using your phone and the basic design of a ViewMaster that came around decades ago. So interesting to see, again, how businesses can take advantage of this through tours of their store, through looking at new merchandise on the retail side, through walking a client through a process. Even if you don't sell products, or if you're in the food industry or retail, even if it's a service-based business, the ways you can use this to physically, I say physically, almost physically walk a client through the purchase process and through through gaining the knowledge of what it is that you sell and the different products and services that you offer, the different packages, being able to really literally walk a client through that process through virtual reality, I think is going to be fascinating to see. And I think it's going to be easier and easier for business to be able to create that type of video. And I'm really curious to see what businesses jump on board there. The last trend, and I'm not going to keep you online very much longer. I realize I'm over time now, and I thank you so much for your patience and attending with us today. But the last trend I want to talk about is influencer marketing. My question for you, Q6, so you can answer with A6, is there a celebrity you would trust for your buying decisions. Just to give you some background here, LeBron James will tweet about you for $140,000. If that number looks familiar, coincidentally, or perhaps not coincidentally, 140 is the number of characters you're allowed in a tweet. So basically, if you pay LeBron James $1,000 a character, he will tweet about your brand. This is a little on the extreme side, but it's not that far away from the prices that a lot of other celebrities use. But I don't want you, I'm not mentioning influencer marketing to scare you away from this valuable resource. Influencers are also your loyal customers. If you've been in business for, over a year at the very least, you have those customers who know you and love you. These are your influencers. These are the people who are willing to say great things about you online and offline, on Yelp, on Facebook, on Twitter, and then offline with their friends. This is the most valuable tool you can use in 2016 to build up the awareness of your brand. And you can, depending on the site you use, you have to be careful with this, but depending on the site, there are ways you can incentivize them to send tweets and talk about you on Facebook. You don't want to abuse that power, of course, but there are ways you can harness the influence of your loyal, valued customers who are your repeat business to be your influencers out in the social media sphere. Let's recap these. Again, overall, the theme that flows through everything we talked about is the idea of mobile marketing. The idea is to be able to address your customers where they are, and it's an awkward way of saying it, but when they are. Where they are and when they are, because they have their phones with them all the time. They're using messaging apps to communicate with themselves, and you can be on the forefront of incredible customer service if you respond back in the way that customers reach out to you, by using those messaging apps, by having those one-on-one conversations with your customers. That is how you create a loyal fan base. Ad blocking is going to be huge, going to continue on its trajectory of giving consumers the control over the messages they see. What does that mean for you? You have to create a better message. There's no way around it. You probably heard this. You're tired of hearing it's about the content. But that's because it's true. You have to create that incredible message in order to work around the customization that's available on each individual consumer's level, each personal level, the customization that's available for them in terms of what messages they want to hear. You can control that as a consumer, and it's up to you as a business to know how to, I don't want to say get around that, but basically know how to get around that, to know how to reach customers even when they have the utmost control over every message they receive. Streaming video is easier than ever. I hope you try out Periscope or Meerkat or one of these other platforms. There are a lot of great conferencing platforms too that allow you to do podcasting and conferences in brand new ways. And then again, influencer marketing, influencer from the celebrity side, and influencer as a customer. I did a lot of talking today. I hope we get to hear from you. I really appreciate everyone who is tweeting to me and to Splash Media U and using that hashtag. Feel free to continue to use that hashtag. We're going to have some more webinars coming up on different topics, and we look forward to talking with you then. We'll be using that same hashtag, so look out for that, Splash Webinar. But anytime after this, you can feel free to tweet me, tweet Julio at Splash Media U. If you like the kinds of resources that we talked about today, the kinds of and again, we just scratched the surface here, but the kinds of brainstorming we did about ways you can tap into these trends, if you like that kind of thing, I recommend you check out our blog at splashmediau.com/blog. It's a great place to check out some of the trends that are happening. We try to keep, social media is really tough to keep up with, and we try to do our part in educating social media marketers and what's coming down the line and the latest changes. What you can do now, if you have those questions that you've put into the comments in YouTube, I'm going to switch over and go to that YouTube page. So hopefully you'll see me again in a second here, and I'll be able to answer some of those. Once we go offline, please continue to have that conversation there. Also, one more thing I want to mention, I'm going to tweet out a link, and I think Julio is going to do this as well. We're going to tweet out a link if you want to find out some more information on our social media certification program. We'll tweet out a very special offer for those webinar attendees who are with us today. This is a limited time thing. I don't want to spend any time talking about the sales side here, but I just want to quickly mention it's a limited time offer. We're going to tweet it out, and that's all I'll say about it because I really want to get to these questions on YouTube. But look for that tweet. So let me switch back over to the presentation here and be able to see my face. So hopefully now you'll be able to keep seeing me as I switch over to our YouTube comments. It's a limited time offer. Let me refresh here. And again, if you're not able to comment here, then you should be able to comment on our Google Plus page. And I can refresh the page and see if, oh, here we do. We've got some, great. So you are able to comment directly on YouTube. Let's see. Oh, Jason has a great question. Jason says he just graduated from college and wants to get into social media marketing. Splash Media U, a recognized certification program. Yes, it is recognized in a couple different ways. Now, the caveat before I give you those ways is that there is no universal social media certification. So you may have heard of a PMP, a project management certification. You know, you probably know somebody or have a family friend who's a CPA. There are lots of certifications out there that are globally recognized. There is no such thing for social media marketing specifically. Now that said, we are proud to be an affiliate school of Full Sail University. We are individually an accredited program. So our Splash Media U certification has gone through accreditation to become a school recognized for our benchmarks and assessments. So we have that. I'm trying to think, well, a couple other ways. Oh, one great thing to check out for Jason and anybody else, if you want to talk to some of our graduates in terms of how Splash Media U may have helped them, check out our directory page. If you go to splashmediau.com, there's a link in the upper right for graduates, and that shows you our directory. A lot of our graduates like to have their information posted there if they're on the lookout for clients or for business opportunities. Just for networking, it's a great opportunity. So a couple things to check out. We're accredited. We're proud to be a part of Full Sail University as an affiliate school, and you can talk to individual graduates on their experience and what they thought. Refresh. That's a great question. Let me refresh the page here. And what we may end up doing, I'll answer a couple more questions, and then I'll sign off because I know it's getting late in the day, and happy to come back and answer these directly on the YouTube page. My refresh didn't quite work. Let me try that again. The problem is I'm refreshing on the same page that I'm streaming this on, so it's going to be a little slow. It looks like that may just be our only question. Let me switch over to see newest ones first. Okay, great. That's our only question for now, but it's totally fine. Again, if you want to ask a question after the fact right here on the YouTube comments, and we'll be happy to answer those. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and type in an answer to Jason right now so that everybody who was not on the webinar or stayed to answer stayed to hear the answer can see the answer to his question. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, be on the lookout for that tweet from both Julio and myself. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and hope to talk to you at some point soon.